Welcome back to the Fantasy Fortune YouTube channel. Today we are going to dive into our quarterback rankings for fantasy football. I got them broken off into 6 different tiers. It is my top 30 quarterbacks, but let's just dive right into it and start off with tier number 1. These are the elite guys, and I just have Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen here. So Josh Allen has been a top 2 quarterback for the past 4 seasons and is valued as the quarterback 1 this year. I think it's a little bit rich, kind of an overvalue, because if there was going to be some regression, it would be this year, because not only did he lose Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, but he doubled his previous season high rushing touchdown total. 15 touchdowns last year. His previous high was 8 or 9. And if you look at the box score, it's like 8 or 9 rushing touchdowns every season. And then it soared up to 15 last year. So, if there was going to be regression, it would probably be this year. I'm not worried about him at all. I think he'll maintain a top 3 fantasy quarterback finish. I just think I think he's been QB1 for like 3 seasons in a row. I would rather look towards Hurts and Mahomes here because they're valued a little bit later than he is. I'm not even trying to hate on him. If you pick Josh Allen, I'm cool with it. So, and if I didn't say this, these are in order when I show all these tiers. So, Jalen Hurts, I do have at QB1 and Mahomes QB2. I kind of flip-flop between them, and that's something I like to make known with these tiers. All the guys in the same tier, if you have a different order, I'm okay with it. But, we'll talk about that in a sec. Anyway, Jalen Hurts he's been a top 3 quarterback for the past 2 seasons. And the reason I'm so high on him this year, I know they added Saquon Barkley. I know Jason Kelce retired. But I love the addition of Kellen Moore at offensive coordinator to replace Brian Johnson last year, who was not good at all for this team. Kellen Moore has had a ton of success with Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert. He makes these receivers look so fucking good. He's 2 years of Amari Cooper, 2 years of CeeDee Lamb, a year of Keenan Allen last year. That was Kellen Moore. He knows how to run some offenses, especially for fantasy football. And Jalen Hurts is, he's 700 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns this season. Very, very safe, and I think the ceiling's high. And now Patrick Mahomes, like last week, either one of these guys is my QB1, because Patrick Mahomes was a bust last year. He was QB1, ended up as QB10 because he had a season. Actually, I don't think it was a career low, but he only threw 27 touchdowns. But this season, it's because they had no weapons. This season, they add, to pair with Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice, they have Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown. We've seen all the training camp clips of him airing it out, so Xavier Worthy, whoever the hell else is there. He's got the weapons this year. They made it known that they want to bring that deep ball back because his efficiency metrics from deep ball to short passes, like it was all short passes. His average depth of target was very, very low last year. I think it was a career low. So I think this is going to be a very good bounce back year for Mahomes, and we could see that 2018 to 2021 MVP QB1 Patrick Mahomes. I could see 40 touchdowns here. Now let's dive into tier 2. These guys are the rushing quarterbacks they have the potential to be in this elite tier because of their rushing upside. I think their ceiling and floor is a lot higher than anybody after them, and that's why they're in this tier alone. It's Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, and Kyler Murray. So Lamar Jackson, he was a little bit weird last season. He did finish as the QB3, and he won MVP. If you look at his game log, he was very, very inconsistent. He gave you a lot of spike weeks and he gave you a lot of dud weeks, and that's okay. We know what he provides with the rushing here, and they added Derrick Henry back there, so this could be an even more lethal rushing attack. And I think he's one of those guys where you know what you're going to get. You're either going to get a fully healthy season and a likely top 5 quarterback finish, or you're going to see him miss 4 to 6 games, and he'll probably finish as a low QB1 because of the missed games. Anthony Richardson is next, and honestly, I could see him above Lamar because of what we saw last year. I don't think people are ready for this. If he is completely healthy all season, he has one of the best chances to finish as the QB1 and could honestly be in the tier above had we seen a larger sample size last season. And, if he hadn't got hurt pretty much every game he played. So, last season he had, in the 2 full games he played, he was the QB2 that week and the QB4 that week. Like 21 and 29 fantasy points. And in the other game that he played, he got hurt after the first quarter, but he put up 17 points in the first quarter with 2 rushing touchdowns against the Houston Texans. He averaged the most fantasy points per dropback of anyone. Pretty big gap between him and Josh Allen, who was the second one. And I just would like to recognize with how elite this offensive line is, paired with a top 5 running back in Jonathan Taylor, with Shane Steichen calling these plays, people are not ready for this at all. And it's really the rushing touchdowns here for Anthony Richardson, because he had 4 rushing touchdowns in 10 quarters last season, and you could argue that that's not sustainable. But there are 68 quarters in an NFL season. So, I'm not even going to do that math. It's like 24, that's 26 probably rushing touchdowns that he was on pace for. Obviously, not going to happen. But his over-under is 7.5 on Underdog, and I love that smash. Which, speaking of Underdog, if you want to... I posted a bunch of over-under picks last week, and more will be coming out. If you want to watch those videos, tailor, fade, or make your own picks, make sure you use code FORTUNE. You'll get a 50% deposit match up to $125. So if you go in and throw $250 in there, and they'll give you another $125. Or if you just want to roll cheap, you throw $10 in there, they'll give you another $5. And the best part is, if you watch this and you want to take advantage of it, you're a first-time user, just go DM my Instagram, and I'll just reimburse your first $10. Nobody's DM'd me to do this yet. People have joined Underdog with my code, but nobody has asked for reimbursements. I'm happy to give it to you for using my code, kind of a thank you. So you deposit $10, DM me, I'll reimburse your $10. You'll have 15, whether you want to use it on some picks or some best ball fantasy football drafts. And I will throw you into my free fantasy football league that has $100 going to first place. Anyway, Shane Steichen, his history of rushing in the red zone, off the charts. He's had the lowest pass rate with Herbert in the Chargers when he was there in his rookie year. Jalen Hurts, who he made the QB1 in fantasy points per game and QB2 overall when he was in Philadelphia. And then obviously what AR did last year, he's going to pop off. Kyler Murray also deserves to be in this tier. I don't know why he's so undervalued. He has a rushing upside that provides a very, very safe floor. He has never been worse than quarterback 9 in fantasy points per game in his 5 or 6 seasons off the top of my head. 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 5 seasons. We've seen 3 different seasons of top 5 in fantasy points per game, and we've seen a couple of top 5 overall finishes. Now Kyler Murray adds Marvin Harrison Jr., his first elite wide receiver since DeAndre Hopkins when he was the quarterback too. And he has never averaged less than 18 fantasy points per game in a season, even coming off the ACL last year with pretty much no weapons outside of Trey McBride. This offense is also going to be very underrated. Their defense is supposed to be dog shit, especially their secondary, which is beautiful for fantasy football. They're expected to be in a lot of shootouts. I think this run game is going to be good, and with Kyler throwing to McBride and Marvin Harrison, this pass game should be good. The Cardinals, I want a lot of pieces of them, and Kyler Murray in the 7th or 8th round, it's beautiful. Now let's get into my third tier, and these are guys that could easily finish as top 5 quarterbacks, but they don't have the same rushing floor as the tier above them, meaning they need to have a lot more passing production through the air. Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, and Jordan Love. Now, I'm not going to talk about CJ Stroud in this because I've spent so much time talking about him already. Just check out one of my last few videos. I have it's 3 early round players to avoid, and CJ Stroud is one of them. I won't elaborate on it here, but the point is he's going way above all the guys in this tier, and even Kyler Murray in the tier above. And I just don't see why. Go check that video out for 9 minutes of me talking about why. But anyway, all 5 of these guys could easily have a top 5 finish, but they're going to have over 4,500 yards and over 35 touchdowns. Now, Dak did that last year, was the QB3, 4,500 yards and 36 touchdowns. But that was the runner-up for MVP. He was an MVP contender, and that's kind of what these guys got to do. They're all very capable. They've all done it before. The 2 seasons that Joe Burrow played fully had 4,500 yards and at least 34 touchdowns. CJ Stroud, last year 4,123 touchdowns, missed a couple of games, and now they add Stephon Diggs in his year 2. The Texans are supposed to be really fucking good, so he could do it as well. And Jordan Love was the QB5 last season, 4,200 yards and 32 touchdowns off the top of my head. I think he's got a little bit more rushing upside than these other 3 do. And the Packers added Josh Jacobs and get all their healthy receivers back, one of the deepest, youngest receiving cores in the NFL. There's tons of upside with all 4 of these guys. Their offenses are supposed to be great. They all have really, really solid weapons. And they could throw for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. That's what it would take to be a top 5 quarterback. Now, I don't expect all of them to do it, but they are all capable. And if healthy, they give you a safe little floor. Let's get into Tier 4, which are just great values because all of these guys either were top 12 last year or I think could be top 12 this year, but you don't have to take them in the top 10. And this is in order, but like I said, I'll explain this again. Tiers 1 through 3 you can have in any order, but they all have to be above 4 through 6. 4 through 6, put them in any order you want, but they all got to be above 7 through 10. 7 through 10, I don't really care about the order there. I mean, I have my own order and it's on the screen, but they got to be above all of these other guys that I'm about to read off. And that is Jaden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, and Caleb Williams. I'll give a quick note on each of these guys. Jaden Daniels, one of my favorite values, doesn't go as a top 12 quarterback in most platforms. I think he will easily be a top 12 quarterback. 89% of quarterbacks to have at least 100 rushing attempts in a single season have finished as a top 12 quarterback. And if even 75 plus, I mean, you see guys with 75 plus carries in their rookie season. Cam Newton did it. RG3 did it. Vince Young did it. Kyler Murray did it. Josh Allen did it. All of those guys were top 12 quarterbacks in fantasy, except for Josh Allen, who was just really bad through the air. And in the second half of the season, he was top 12. It's a very, very nice floor. He's one of the only, I think he might be the only player to have 12,000 passing and 3,000 rushing in college. It's the same thing as these Lamar, Anthony Richardson, and Kyler Murray. I just don't want to be quite that bold. We could see him be like Anthony Richardson last year before he got injured. It's a very nice floor, tons of upside. I need to just make up a YouTube video on how important rushing is for quarterbacks in fantasy, because if this was 5 years ago, I don't know if Jaden Daniels would be going top 20. I don't know if AR would be going top 10. But now we know how important rushing is. Brock Purdy, he was a top 6 quarterback last year, especially if they keep Ayuk. He's still going to have all these amazing weapons and should be pretty much the exact same offense. It's a pretty safe floor. I mean, that's a guy who should have over 4K passing yards and 30 touchdowns at worst. Jared Goff was the QB7 last year. This is one of the most consistent guys in the NFL. You're going to get 25 to 30 touchdowns out of them. They have the exact same offense minus Josh Reynolds. Jameson Williams is supposed to break out. I'm just glad they still have Ben Johnson. This is going to be a top 5 scoring offense in the NFL. Plenty of upside here. Trevor Lawrence, I really like this season. He was the QB 13, I want to say, last year. Bit overdrafted as about the quarterback 7. Didn't really pan out for you. But I don't know how I'll be editing this video, but if I am popping up statistics throughout this video, then I'll pop this up as well. If not, then I'll just tell you, or you can probably find it on my Twitter. There's 5 different injuries that he had last season, whether it was a knee, a back, and a leg, an ankle. He had all these injuries, played through all of them. I don't think he missed any time. If he did, it was like a game. And that is why he was a little bit disappointing last season, along with the fact that the Jaguars dropped more touchdowns than anybody last year. There's a reel from Ian Hartitz on Twitter of them dropping about 15 touchdowns. And some of them are just tough grabs, but some of them are just wide open drops. So Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones are gone, replaced by Gabe Davis and first-round rookie Brian Thomas, who led FBS in receiving touchdowns with 17. I think that we're going to see a little bit of a step forward for Trevor Lawrence. I'm in on this passing offense. I'm in on the bounce back. I think he could easily finish as a top 10 quarterback. And if not, he's got a nice little floor, which is why he's kind of towards the end of the top 12, top 15. Tua, he led the NFL in passing yards last season and was the QB9. So, there's some upside to where he could be a back-end QB1. There's a ton of spike weeks where the Dolphins, maybe they score 40 or 50, and he's got 4 passing touchdowns through the air. There's also some low lows. He's not very mobile, not much rushing upside. So, the games where they score a few rushing touchdowns and maybe he throws one through the air, that happens too. I kind of look at it as, damn, he led the entire league in passing yards and was still only the QB9, which is kind of why he's towards the back end of the top 15. That was like one of the best case scenarios. Like he could lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns again, and without the rushing upside, he's probably not cracking the top 6, the top 8. But I do like him. Last guy is Caleb Williams. I think he deserves to be on this tier just because he's got a little bit of sneaky rushing upside, kind of like Patrick Mahomes. Scrambling, he's not a Jaden Daniels, a Lamar Jackson, an Anthony Richardson, but he's a little bit like Mahomes. I don't really like rookie quarterbacks unless they have significant rushing upside like Jaden Daniels, because some of the best rookie quarterback seasons we've seen, I don't have their finishes off the top of my head, but C.J. Stroud is one, and he was barely cracking the top 12. That was one of the best rookie fantasy quarterbacks we've seen. Andrew Luck, Dak Prescott, none of those 3 rookie seasons I named threw for over 23 passing touchdowns, and that's Caleb Williams over-under. That's probably in another video of mine I think I posted last week of Caleb Williams. I like the under there on Underdog. Even though he's got all these weapons, I think he has a solid floor. With the rushing upside and all the weapons he has, a generational talent, he should be completely fine. I just don't think he's got the upside to crack the top 12 unless he has probably the best rookie fantasy season of all time. Like, seriously. Let's get into the next tier. Tier number 5, these are guys that are valued outside the top 15, meaning nobody's really taking them as their starting quarterbacks. In a lot of redraft leagues, you might be able to get them off the waivers, depending on how many teams take 2 quarterbacks. A lot of teams don't. But these are also pretty much in order. Let's go Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and Aaron Rodgers. Give a little spiel on each one of them. Stafford has tremendous upside. First of all, he was QB5 in 2021, almost 5K yards and over 40 touchdowns. Now he has a healthy Cooper Kupp, a healthy Puka Nacua, and a healthy Kyren Williams, and a bad defense that Aaron Donald just retired from. Bottom 10 defense. Same thing I just said about Kyler. That's beautiful for fantasy football. This should be a top 10 scoring offense in the NFL. And the defense should be bad, meaning there could be a lot of shootouts. Beautiful for fantasy football. If his receivers can stay healthy, I see more touchdowns as well because Kyron stole a lot last season. As you know, Kupp was missing games and they were just running it in. And one more thing, he played 15 out of 17 games. If you pace if you pace it out to a full 17 games, he would have been a top 10 quarterback last season. And he's got the better situation this season. People act like he's 39. He's like 35, 36, I think 35. A lot of upside there. Pretty safe. Kirk Cousins, I don't even think I need to talk much about it. He was QB7 in points per game last season before getting injured, and now he has Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, offensive coordinator Zach Robinson coming over from the Rams last season. It's a really good situation for him. This is a guy that's got, fringe top 12 upside as well if he bounces back and has a very good season. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what the hate is here. I know he's not really a good NFL quarterback anymore. We've seen him finish as a top 5 quarterback 3 times in his career. Last year, he only played 5 full games, but 3 of those 5 games, he was a top 10 quarterback during that week. And in 4 of those 5 games, he was top 15. So 4 out of his 5 games last season, he was top 15, yet he's being drafted outside the top 20. He doesn't need to be good. He's got the rushing upside. He's got very good weapons. They're kind of going over towards more of a pass-heavy approach with Nick Chubb. They're adding Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku breakout, Amari Cooper. They got the weapons. They want to throw the ball. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's going to be good now. I don't really care. He's going to be good for fantasy, I think. Very, very low floor and high ceiling, in my opinion. Justin Herbert, very safe option, streamable quarterback too. The upside that I see in him is they want to be run heavy, but their defense, just like the Rams, is going to be bottom 10. So when the other team is putting up a lot of points against you, you can't just keep running the ball with Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, and a rookie, 5th-round rookie in Kamani Vidal. I look at it as they want to be run heavy, and they will be run heavy with Harbaugh and Roman, but they don't really have the super good running backs. It's not like they're back there running with like a Derrick Henry or a Jonathan Taylor or even like a James Cook, like somebody decent enough. They probably don't have like a top 20 starter at the running back position. But, either way, they're going to be run heavy. But Justin Herbert's an elite quarterback. He'll make do with Ladd and Josh Palmer and DJ Chark and whoever the hell else. He'll be okay. Very low ceiling in my mind. But, like I said, streamable against some good defenses. Maybe pick some shootout weeks. He can be in your lineup. And Aaron Rodgers, honestly, kind of the same thing as Justin Herbert. They won't be as run heavy. But he's 40 years old. We saw a decrease in his stats, not last season, but the year before in his last season in Green Bay. 0 rushing upside, so for him to be a valuable fantasy quarterback, he's kind of going to have to return to top 10 quarterback play. Definitely a streamable quarterback. You'll get some good weeks out of him, maybe some 3-touchdown games. I like the Jets offense this year. I think him and Garrett Wilson are going to have a lot of success, but that's about it. You'll have some high highs and some low lows. Last tier, I'm noticing. Well, let's go through these guys: Geno Smith, Will Levis, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, Bryce Young, Drake May, Justin Fields. I'm noticing that I don't have a Darnold or a McCarthy on here. They would obviously be in this tier. I think Darnold will start, and I kind of like some sneaky upside from Darnold, but obviously not going to be owned in any leagues. Most of these guys probably won't be owned. Maybe a couple of them. Maybe Geno, maybe Baker, maybe Will Levis, a little dart throw, and maybe Russell Wilson. That's probably about it. These are just some guys, they're not too... Let's talk about the first half of this tier. Geno, Levis, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, and maybe Daniel Jones. There's a little bit of upside. With Geno, he was a top 10 quarterback 2 years ago. Last year, people thought he was a lot worse than he is. Talking about Sam Howell might take his job. That's bullshit. He'll be fine. With a new offensive coordinator that had a top 2 passing offense in college football with Washington for 2 years in a row, I like the upside here. You don't have to pay much to get him, and maybe he cracks the top 15 again. Not a bad option. Will Levis, I posted a video on late round quarterback sleepers, and I have a little 5 or 6 minute spiel on him. So just go check out that video if you want to hear more about why Will Levis is a good option. But to say it as briefly as I can, they're projected to be the top, they're projected to be number one in passing attempts this year, and only 24th in passing touchdowns. So they're not expected to be very good. But he's got a loaded receiving core. Every single thing that that Brian Callahan and the new OC has talked about this offseason is just how pass heavy they want to be. Even when they talk about Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, they talk about how good at pass catching and beating linebackers they are. So I compared him to Sam Howell last season, who was the QB 12 overall because he led the league in pass attempts. He wasn't good at all, but that's all you need for some fantasy garbage time. That could be Will Levis. Russell Wilson was QB 14 last season. Baker Mayfield was QB 10. I'm a little worried about Baker without Dave Canales, but I do like the new offensive coordinator in Liam Cohen. And he's got Evans and Godwin in a pretty shitty division, to be honest. So obviously he's got some upside. Daniel Jones coming off the ACL injury, but the year before that, he was top 12 because of his rushing upside. Now he might be a little more limited coming off that ACL, but he now has Malik Neighbors, pretty much the only good receiver he's ever had in his whole career. A little bit of upside there. Fields isn't a starter. Drake May might not be playing for a while. Derek Carr, very streamable guy you can throw in your lineup if they play a shitty defense. I lost the fantasy championship last year to a guy who started Derek Carr against a shitty defense, and he had a good week. And Bryce Young, kind of some upside in here. Receivers wouldn't get open last year. He was in the worst situation ever. Now he has Dave Canales, QB Whisperer, who made Geno Smith good in 2022 and Baker Mayfield good in 2023. Both of them were top 10 in fantasy football. They added Jonathan Brooks. They added Deontay Johnson in first-round rookie wide receiver Xavier Legette. And Adam Thielen is still there. This could be a sneaky, decent offense, and I don't really expect Bryce Young to become anyone's starting quarterback in fantasy football. But if we're sitting here in week 6, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if he was a tier above, being like a guy that maybe gives you some good weeks. Obviously, he didn't give you any last year, but there's a little bit of upside there, I think. So that is going to round it off. This should be about a 25-minute video or so that's not too bad. The next video I'm going to post is my tight end tiers, and then after that, I will get to running backs and receivers, and I'll probably redo all these videos toward the end of August, closer to the season, because these are my July rankings. But thank you guys for listening. Please leave a like and a subscribe and a comment or anything that helps. I'm really trying to grind out some YouTube videos, and I plan on doing 3 to 5 a week right now, and definitely 4 to 5 a week during the NFL season. So make sure to leave some feedback, any video ideas you guys have for me, any questions, I'll try to get back to you, and we'll see you next video.